Hello everyone, my name is Umu, and I'm a musician who loves to interview K-pop songwriters and producers about their music. Today I am catching up with the amazing producing duo Moonshine on some of my favorite works they have done in 2021. Oh, and Adrian McKinnon's gonna be here. As I was planning for this interview, I was like, Adrian top lines two of my favorite songs Moonshine did in 2021. I should just reach out and see if he's free the day that I'm interviewing Moonshine. And if he's free, then I can surprise Moonshine with his appearance. So I decided to keep it a secret from Moonshine for a bit so we can catch their surprise on camera, which we successfully did.
My name is Jonathan.
Yeah, and my name is Ludwig.
And together we're... Oh, wait, what?
Always.
Oh! I see what's coming.
I had to stall for so long.
I'm
Hi,
so
man.
sorry. What's up, guys? How are you guys doing?
Oh, good.
We're doing good.
You look great. You look like rock stars over there.
You look great. You look fresh. New haircut.
Oh my god, it's been so long, actually.
Yeah, it has. It's been, gosh, half a year maybe? Close to that?
Yeah.
Woo! So naturally, I have to start off with Hello Future, which is one of my favorite tracks of the year, although Code did beat it out by a tiny bit. But I would love to start at the very beginning of this song's birth. What was the small seed of inspiration that eventually grew into the colorful flower that is Hello Future?
I mean, long story short, I think we started working on that idea at SM. It was like way back before Corona and the pandemic and all that. And when we were having this online camp together with Adrian and Kenzie, we picked that track up and finished it prior to that camp. Because we there's something special about this one. We just sent away the track basically, and then Adrian and Kenzie do their thing. And I don't really know the process there because it was basically we didn't hear anything and then we just got the entire top line back.
Basically, Kenzie had the framework for this one already laid out. She had her top line and the chorus was phenomenal. It was already the way we hear it now. You know, you've got your major into minor and major up, minor coming down, and that blew me away. We spent a lot of time at the beginning of the song trying to figure out how to initiate it. And this is why Moonshine is so awesome to work with in terms of their production, is because they will have such a full production but still have room for you as a writer or a vocalist to do all kinds of different things. They you guys, I'm just going to blow you up a little bit. But you guys go in so many colorful directions, and it always inspires a new way of approaching melody. So we really took the time, because there was so much, you could tell there was a lot of dedication and love that went into that track in particular, that we didn't want to muck it up with, with any old melody. But Kenzie had a really strong footing on her idea. And, I just kind of went in and did some splashes of things here and there. And then we came up with the concept after that.
Wow. So we already had all the overtones and the talk box and all the bell-like alien noises before the concept was invented.
Didgeridoo, yeah, all that stuff.
There's a didgeridoo?
Is that a didgeridoo? Like, this is what it sounds like.
I think we have to reference the actual track.
But it is a didgeridoo, or however you say it in there.
I mean, I don't really know which, because here's
we're an
the...
Australian instrument.
Yeah, I know what the didgeridoo is. It's more of where in the track we're talking right now.
Certainly at the end of the song, the way it ended, when you had that explosive, like, wow, at the
Yeah.
end, to me, that's what I thought it was.
Hello, future.
I was really proud of the rap for some reason. I'm trying to remember why.
Sick.
What it was what we were, it was the subject matter. I was going through some things. In terms of like what was going on in the world, it really brought me to this place of like, well, what's going on with humanity? Why are we so against each other? Specifically here in the States, the song was originally called Human Nature. That was the title of the demo track. I went to this sort of sci-fi realm of like, what if we were dealing with somebody from, another planet, and how would we behave with them? Would we turn into, we need to behave less like animals and more like humans. And that's where the song was originally came from. But for NCT, it needed to be a little bit lighter. And I think it was Kenzie who did the writing, right? On her end. Yeah. And she came up with Hello Future, which was brilliant because she was still able to like keep pieces of what I was trying to say, but also like lighten the mood. It was amazing.
It's like enough of the original in there, so you're like, I can still hear your rap in my head because, especially with the rap parts, they have like some of the keywords in English are still your original lyrics, so you can still kind of hear it in your head.
What we find so satisfying when we're sending over tracks to you, Adrian, is that we kind of have an idea of what type of top line. Like we make this type of chorus with open, wide chords, and we can hear what you probably will do. But every single time, you just throw us a freaking curveball. It's like we just try to challenge you into like, okay, we gotta put you into this route. You take a different route, but that turns out to be the best possible thing to do over that specific part. Like for example, like the chorus, and of course, like Kenzie made the ground foundation for the I guess most of the parts in the top line.
I know that she also got direction from an A&R in particular about keeping it in sort of the major realm because the song had like a dark tone to it, but they wanted a light and uplifting sort of, on the major side of color and things. So we played around a lot with staying in the major, but also hitting you with the minor every now and again in the song. So that was Kenzie, for sure.
It's the only thing I really remember the first time we got to hear your version, like when the chorus hits. And like you're taken by surprise because it starts like dark and kind of like rappy and cool, and you're like, oh yeah, awesome! It's like how the track sounds, and then the chorus comes, you're like, what?
Yeah,
oh,
and it's
okay.
Well, see,
and you like get into it so fast.
And that, but see, honestly, like that part when it goes into major after the rap, it threw me off for the longest time because the way I was hearing it was dark, and so I think a few attempts at the melody were on the darker side, the more minor side. And Kenzie was like, I think we need to keep it on the light side. A&R was saying this, we should probably stick to it. So we did a lot of detail work there. And once we were happy with what we got, then the rest of it was just, we just took off. And the chorus was, I tell you what, that's chorus. Probably one of my most favorite choruses I've ever been a part of.
I'm usually the one that like edits the vocals of us too. So like Adrian just sent it in stem so I could just get it in the production a bit better. And I was just like, I got it, and I'm like a kid on, Christmas.
Yeah.
And I just I just soloed the harmonies. I just sent it to Jonathan straight away. He was like, listen dude. And we both But because when the chorus hits, like if you just listen to the harmonies, like you don't need the lead, you don't need the instrumental, you just need like the harmonies. You're like,
yes, yes.
We were talking about the way you harmonize your top lines generally, and it's very much inspired by Kenzie's way of doing things in many regards, mixed up of course with your background and your touch. But you two doing that together really leads to some layers that are very, very unexpected. It's not like you're just layering fifths all over. You're emphasizing specific words, stacking that with so many different notes.
I think she and I both, and this was just like theory stuff. We tried to stay away from a lot of parallels with harmony because it does get a little bit, not as fun.
You lose the tension,
so you lose the tension, and you need that sort of tension release. And I remember when I first went to Korea and I worked with Kenzie, I noticed that about her in particular is we went line by line with harmonies and she didn't just layer it like that. And so I was like, holy cow, I need to step my game up, basically. And I've always been a fan of doing that, but watching her work every single time blows me away. Or when she sends something over, I'm like, how does she think to do that? It boggles the mind. So we do have slightly different approaches, but I think we both equally appreciate that tension and release.
And bringing it back to the track, Moonshine, when you were first writing the song and it had no top line and you're just writing a track to be a track, did you have any movie inspirations or anything in general? Any specific story that you wanted to tell through the track?
I recall us starting making this track. We really felt the pressure of needing, like we had to make something great, right?
Would be like an anthem.
Yeah, it was supposed to sound like a huge anthem, and I do recall like the first note, that almost dubsteppy kind of horn diggity-doo kind of sounding thing that drops into from the intro, is literally just one synth and one patch that we had been trying to get into so many productions, and it was like, okay, this time, okay, let's. Then that starts off the entire thing. I think that was the first initial kind of inspiration. It's like, how can we make a song around this that is, it's so bombastic, it's like, I don't know, it sounds like from something from a Star Wars movie that is not really supposed to be a musical element. And I guess that combined with that chopped vocal that you put together, along with just trying to build around that and play around that, because I mean the second half of both verses utilize that being just a static, just on a fundamental basically throughout the entire song, but then building different chords around that was kind of a way for us to challenge ourselves. I think that was the starting point, and from there we've talked about that a lot, but it's like then we go into the cloud where you have no idea what's happening until you're finished with the entire track. I mean it's quite hard to recall exactly
The
what
cloud.
we did or how it came to be.
Yeah,
That's
I
wild.
don't think we had like a specific inspiration. We work together a lot, and we sometimes just get on the same page. We like don't have to talk about what we want to do. It's like when you hear that, we're both like, yeah, we're making that song, and like we both usually just like know where we're going.
Like if you've ever played in a band, then you know it's just sounds coming. It's like and then you're doing something and it's like and you know it's basically that thing going on.
It's
and
like jamming, but
it's like
with
jamming.
production.
Yeah,
It's jamming. It's like catching it out of the sky, really. It's floating around in the room. It shows up, and everybody's like, oh, look how shiny that is. We got to use that. You know, it's like every single time. I love it.
Yeah.
All right, last question for Hello Future. We've already talked a little bit about the switching between major and minor, and I believe I have asked you all this question before. I asked about what is the importance of harmony in music, but I don't think I've ever specifically asked about the importance of modal mixture. Why use minor in a major song? Why use major in a minor song? And why specifically for Hello Future?
It's colors. I always go back to this concept of colors. Modal mixture, for me, is another way of looking at, is another way of painting a picture, essentially. And you can't really do it when you're just running with the primary colors over and over again. When you get an opportunity to change it up, to go from cold to hot, to go from smooth to rough even, like the tension and release, I think that is what drew me to K-pop in the first place. I've noticed more modal mixture in K-pop in general than I have in any other genre of music. And this is why it's such a great opportunity to be able to play around with that a little bit more and to try different ideas and to really sort of flex those muscles, I guess, or exercise those opportunities. When I get a track from Moonshine, every single time I'm blown away because of a different color that I haven't heard either ever or in a long time, and it just goes, oh my gosh, I could try this one melody I always hum to myself, you know, on the weekends or something, and I can try and push that in there. So I'm just glad to have the opportunity to be able to mix modes the way that we do. For Hello Future, it was Kenzie's hook for me that was like that just took me over the edge. When you're going up in a major and you're coming down in a minor, inspired by the chords, it was da da da. And then da-da-da, you know, it went to there, and it was just like, holy cow. And we were able to play with the new melody we never got a chance to do before. So
I think the modal mixture is one of the most effective ways to really get that element of surprise, basically. It's like you're expecting a minor, then the major comes in. In this particular case, when it comes to Hello Future, I would say it's the minor that is the most surprising. Because it's like, oh, it's supposed to be a bright chorus. That's the first kind of initial mode you get into, but then the minor comes, and that is like one of the, I wouldn't say the easiest tricks, but it's so effective. And I think it's also a matter of actually not overdoing it, because then you're just getting used to that. It comes out of nowhere, and that really brings that extra couple of percentages to the, I don't know, the uniqueness of the melody or the general vibe of this song and in K-pop in general.
Well, I do like for Hello Future how, like you were saying, you just, with the verses, you didn't really do too much for chords. You were just driving that one pretty much throughout, which again gave the writers, gave me and Kenzie an opportunity to go major, to go minor, to do whatever we wanted. And then when the chorus came in, it took us in all kinds of directions. So it really was explosive for that very reason.
Yeah, such a good song.
It was fantastic. All right, so this is going to be the end of Adrian's appearance in the NCT Dream video. So we're going to say, bye, Adrian. We'll see you in part 2.
All right.
See you.
All right, so am I leaving for real, for real?
No. That's
Oh,
just
okay,
for
okay.
video editing's sake.
Oh, okay.
Okay.
Bye!
Let's wrap up this interview with a couple questions about Diggity and Bungie. So
Yeah.
first off, with Diggity, this is very fun, carefree song, right? So naturally, you guys had to add in a skirt. That's the question.
Either is it you or it's one of the members.
Yeah.
Because we wrote that with Kenzie and Cassie.
Yeah, I mean, first off, this is actually, I may be wrong, but I'm quite sure that this is the first session we've ever had with Kenzie.
This song is so old.
We wrote it such a long time ago, and then of course, like once they decided they wanted to release it, we had a couple of edits, kind of freshening it up and stuff like that. But the general foundation of that song was basically our first camp, one of our first camps in Korea. And we wrote this song with Kenzie and Cassie. That was the first time that we were put into the position where they wanted us to write a guy song, even though there were only female topliners. So it's like, okay, and Cassie wasn't really used to laying down demo vocals for a male act, and therefore it ended up us trying to just use all the tricks in the book, trying to make it sound more as a guy song, leading to me actually layering all the lead throughout the entire song. So the demo is actually 2 voices singing simultaneously. So we sat till like 5 in the morning, making that song, mixing that song, and some were in there. It could be either be me, it could be a sample.
Could be Cassie, could be one of the guys
Yeah.
from the band.
Yeah, the reason why it's so hard to answer the question is because there were so many vocals in the original demo.
Yeah.
Okay.
It sounded like a whole chant song through
Yeah.
all the way through. It was a long time ago since we wrote it, but it's amazing how working with Kenzie at that time, she could see the bigger picture. I specifically think that she picked that song because the track wasn't gonna be sounding dated for the next couple of years to come. It was always thought to be for NCT Dream, but I guess due to its kind of aggressive nature, they were waiting till they were mature.
This have been written in 2018?
Yeah,
Yeah.
19?
17 or 18.
Yeah.
17. Okay, so that was around the time that NCT Dream was, starting to mature. And so
Yeah.
they were trying to go for the darker concepts,
Yeah.
and then they'll eventually bring back, because this is very intense, but it's also intensely uplifting in a way.
Yeah.
It's weird because they
Right.
done like kind of a weird 180 because Drippin' is a much harder song than Diggity. So like they started really light, went really dark, and like just and now they're like somewhere. But I think it's great. I think it shows like a lot of color for them. I like that they can do both sides of that. Not everything needs to be hard, fast, and like aggressive, and not everything has to be like cutesy, nice. It's nice to they can do a lot of things.
Yeah, exactly why they released Hello Future and Hot Sauce back to back.
Yeah,
To just
Yeah.
show that range.
yeah, for sure, for sure.
What would you say the main themes for this track are? Sorry, you might have to refresh your memory, but like specifically for the production.
I just remember like one of like the hooks, the things that really got us is like the rhythmic nature of like the do 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 do, just like the
Down, diggity.
yeah. I think like that was the first thing we're like, oh, that's super cool.
I do recall this is one of those tracks where we played a bunch of tracks and eventually Kenzie picked that track. Basically the feedback was in some way we need more character, we need more things to happen. So we're sitting there during mid-session while they're top-lining, we're kind of after constructing those things. Those things were added up while we were writing the top line in order to just complement those things. And then we also added, those dang, 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 boo, boo. you know, those things in the verses. In order to kind of complement and add a bit more character to the actual track. We've learned a lot during the years, over the years, and a lot of that comes from feedback just like that. Like, okay, they like those small earworms or small details of the track to kind of catch your ear all the way through the song. And that was definitely one of my favorites for many years, like just of all the demos we've written, because the feedback we got on that track while we were actually writing it really helped us to kind of figure out which degree we can do more is more or less is more, you know?
And then, I was going to ask if the siren in the song was an homage to Raiden, but this was written way before Raiden, so...
The siren in Raiden is an homage to this one.
Yeah, exactly.
We just like sirens.
It's something quite atonal that brings a lot of hype into a song like that, especially if it goes in half tempo. It adds some character, basically, to the production.
Right. Well, speaking of fun things, let's talk about the fun groove in Bungie.
Yes.
Holy cow. How in the pocket the beat is. What's your recipe for creating such a huge, groovy, laid back in the pocket beat?
We worked so hard on that beat.
Sometimes things happen by accident. That one definitely didn't. That was a long day of just finding that groove.
This is a song that didn't start of like a musical idea, more like idea in the mind. We just walked to the studio, we talked about like Swedish music, and we just talked about like 90s Swedish music was so weird because they kind of like ripped Caribbean music and like Ace of Base and everything. Like, it was such a weird time and such a weird sound. And also we especially associate that with like the Swedish sound from the 90s. So we were like, let's make an Ace of Base track and make it K-pop.
Sorry, are we talking about Rocket or Bungie?
I'm talking about the wrong song now.
Like, I think you're talking about, but here's the funny thing, because both those tracks share that same type of inspiration, because Rocket has that backbeat chorus.
Yeah.
I guess that's what you initially were talking about, but it's quite fitting because because the groove is very much 90s as well in that kind of boom bop kind of very chopped up rhythm. So I mean, like, you answered the question perfectly as well, but I guess we use the instruments, like the tonal instruments of Rocket uses that 90s throwback, while the drum section of Bungie is very much 90s as well. We love going back and trying to find, like, how can we modernize this type of beat or this type of bounce or this type of sound. And therefore Bungie adds a lot of, you know, small details into get into those pockets.
Yeah, that song was hard to produce as well.
It was incredibly hard to produce, as well as getting a top line that actually would fit. We've had a couple of top liners trying things out on this one, and having that type of pocket, you can't really sing straight 8 notes on there. You really have to be quite creative with how you use rhythm around a track that is very, very rhythmically complex. Because there's, you know, milliseconds away and it's just gonna sound offbeat.
I just remember also, because we tried a few top lines, as you said, and sometimes we were like, it sounds good, but the pocket isn't right. And we were like, we can probably fix that in post ourselves. And we just realized, like, it's so weird because you can't really replicate the feel. Like, it never worked out. It just sounded wrong. And we were like, but it should be like here and here, and you can just drag it this way and it should sound right. And you're like, no, now it's too late. Yeah. Now it's too early. And like, I'm super impressed that when NCT actually recorded the song, that they managed to sing it the right way.
Yeah.
It's super weird.
Yeah.
It's a fun song though.
Yeah, it really is. And that was like, we just sat one entire day working on that pocket. Because dum taka taka ta ta, that it doesn't have the same thing. Dum taka taka ta, you know, like it's overly swinged. If we're talking about swing being a percentage, it's basically an 80% of swing.
It was also a lot of like tricking with the automation to make like all the reverb tails come out at the right time and everything. I don't know. a detail-oriented production.
Yeah.
And I was wondering, did you have to quantize all the beats? Because how do you quantize and play with the automation and somehow still make it sound human and like swing?
That one is done mostly by hand, because you can't
Right.
really quantize it.
Wow.
I know the reverb thing was super
Yeah.
hard of the lead sound.
Yeah.
Because you did like that automation trick where it's like the reverb bounces out from the synth at some parts. And then you have to like take it back. I don't know.
Yeah, it's a lot of things going on with very few elements. It's like that synth is just one synth. The main chord synth is just one synth, but it's the processing that took a lot of time from doing those reverb tails,
Yeah.
along with actually getting a very dry feel along with a very wet feel from having reverb and then just stripping it away unnaturally. Like, it's not tuning out, it's not fading away, it's just cut off basically.
A lot of going in manually and
Yeah.
making sure everything fits in right.
Yeah.
Speaking and putting things into tracks, I loved the Moonshine producer tag in this one because I feel like it's one of the harder ones to catch. So naturally, I've got to ask you guys, what is your favorite the songs that were released in 2021? What was your favorite Moonshine tag, or which one did you feel like was the most creative out of all of them? Because like Earthquake had a lot of bassiness.
What a big earthquake.
I don't think about
Like the thing is, we've listened to those tracks over and over again, so once the tags are in there, we don't really reflect on how we do them. Of course, we're trying to play around with them a lot while we're actually doing it, but
They're the last thing added in, right? Or do you
Yeah.
actually add them in the middle? Okay.
I wish I had a more creative answer, but I do agree that Bungie is probably the funniest one. Because it basically it imitates the same motion as the rest of the synth, so therefore you can actually miss it quite easily. I would give the point to Bungie there.
we try to blend it in. Like we try to make it not stick out. So like the point of it is not to be funny, or cool or anything. It's just like tuck it in as much as possible while still being audible to the ear.
Okay, so in your minds, your favorite producer tags are the ones that are hidden by and blended into the track.
Yeah.
I mean,
For
it's like, especially since you started noticing the tag, it's fair to say that more and more people have noticed it, and therefore it kind of adds to the challenge to kind of hide them as good as possible. I mean, now we're just playing the game. We're just trying to hide that Easter egg in all of our productions, basically, for everyone to get a challenge.
That. Although it is becoming one of my favorite parts to sing along with a track. So and nodding moonshine or like moonshine in Hello Future. It's just become something to sing along with.
Yeah.
And I'm
Yeah.
sure the idols are also having fun with that too.
Yeah, I'm just surprised and happy that they still keep it in the songs because they have the opportunity to take it away, but they don't do it, and I'm super happy about that.
Yeah.
I think it's nice.
Let's crack the